Welcome back to the Tailoring Talk magazine. We have been watching every single Mission Impossible movie leading up to and including the release of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning in May 2025, and we are finally here. And I am here with my carefully assembled IMF team consisting of John Evans and Alex Hansford. So, before we get into anything today, let's just check in with our soldiers and see how they are feeling after 8 movies of Tom Cruise running around like an absolute bloody nutcase. John, how are you doing? How's your heart? Everything all okay?
Yes, I mean, I take blood pressure pills so I can cope with anything Tom Cruise throws at me, to be honest. I'm already medicated pre Mission Impossible, so it's fine, you know.
Brilliant. And Alex, as our canary in the coal mine, as it were, because you've never seen these movies before, how are you? How are you doing? 8 movies
I
on.
I can genuinely say this is the best one I've seen in the cinema. The best one.
Because it's the only one that
only
you've seen
one.
in the cinema.
Oh, wow.
But well, yeah, that's true. But it is the best one I've seen. So it's good in the cinema.
In the cinema. Okay, good. So we are finally here. We have all seen The Final Reckoning. By the time this goes out, hopefully you'll have also heard our On the Way to the Cinema and non-spoiler, and then our spoilery reactions coming out the gate. We are going to get into spoilers today, so I do have to give you the obligatory spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, please hit pause, go see the movie, and then come back and rejoin us. Now, guys, did we see this in IMAX?
I did.
I did.
I did not. I don't have an IMAX near me, sadly, but I wanted to see it, so I will probably see it again in IMAX at some point. But
I've seen it in IMAX and non-IMAX, so I can tell you the difference.
what did I miss?
Yeah.
Just the top and bottom bits, yeah?
Yeah, it's just bigger. That's all.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
They did do some really cool aspect ratio stuff with the action as well, John. So, for example, in the submarine, when it turns and the water sort of
Yeah.
goes like that, they actually flip the aspect ratio so it switches to IMAX as the wall of water sort of goes towards the top of the screen towards him.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna come
Did
on
you
to that.
notice that, Alex?
I didn't, because it's such a big screen and it was such a tense moment. I was absolutely in the moment there, so so I didn't notice it.
Okay, neither
you
did
get-
I.
Did you get your keys? No.
My keys?
Did you not? Did you not get your
that a souvenir at
cruciform
cinema?
key?
Alex.
Oh no, the popcorn
non-video
bucket
viewers.
thing.
Alex is holding up the key to the core. Yeah, from
Yeah,
the
because
film.
Alex got the 30 quid bucket of popcorn. That's why.
Oh, don't ask me. I've got my
Yep.
Mission
It's a bin.
Impossible popcorn.
It looks like a
Which
waste paper bin.
it has basically an image for every Mission Impossible. So I've got
That is
that.
quite cool.
I've also got my Mission Impossible thermal flask. So I've got that at the moment with a beverage in it. So
Awesome.
Tom Cruise
Yeah.
thanks you for your custom, by the way, Alex. That's another
I know I've
10
probably
litres of fuel for his
paid
private plane. Yeah.
a good amount of fuel for his plane, I think. So yeah, I don't think those will ever be used. Apart from this is good, and the popcorn bin is quite nice. So that might get used on a movie night. So you never know.
Okay. Yeah, see,
Anyway.
I'm the sort of person that would bring that home and then use it as a bin. Anyway,
It is
there we
big
go.
enough.
I was tempted, but Carolina wasn't very impressed. If I do go and see the film, I might just go to the cinema and just go and buy those
You
things
don't
and then
want to
walk
do
back
that.
out.
I could send you it. It would make me feel happier than you spending more money on this.
Oh, but don't you want to keep that as a memento, or do you want me to sign it for you?
Yeah, you sign it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
This is fascinating, by
And
the
then,
way, guys.
and then it might be worth,
Really,
and then it
really
might be worth
interesting.
nothing one day. Anyway, on with the show.
Just don't waste your money, guys. But it is cool.
Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Had its world premiere in Tokyo just a few weeks ago, May the 5th. We are recording on May the 27th, so 3 weeks ago. And it was screened out of competition at the 78th Cannes Film Festival on May the 14th. Anyone who saw the YouTube footage will know that Tom Cruise was subjected to a very, very long standing ovation. I understand that they've now introduced a new stunt category to the Oscars.
2027. 2027, I believe it's coming in.
Oh, really? Jeez, so he's going to have to try and come up with some movie next year to be included in the...
But to allow people to actually prepare for the awards by doing the stunts. Rather than retrospect. Does that make sense? To give people sort of a bit of like stunt preparation time more than anything else, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, unfortunately, the Final Reckoning will be counted for that. He's kind of missed out on his Oscars, isn't he? Old Tom Cruise.
Yeah. So Ethan and his team unite following the events of Dead Reckoning Part 1. There's a conversation to be had about why they've changed the freaking title, because a lot of people are confused. But they unite to prevent the rogue AI known as the Entity from unleashing global destruction against humanity. We are not really going to go into too much making of, because the film's only been out. We've only a week after seeing it. Not even a week, just a few days after seeing it. So we're not really going to go into making of here. We might revisit that in a few months' time. But really, this is going to be one of our old style play, pause, turn-esque reviews. So I think we should follow the plot along, and then we can kind of zoom in and out and say our piece. But I was really, really excited for this, as we all were, especially after Dead Reckoning Part 1, because that was such a great film. And we rated the last, hang on a minute, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout, Dead Reckoning. So 4 movies in a row were rated over 9 by all of us, and you guys actually gave some of them 10s. So they were just like, it was like bam, 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 right? After Mission Impossible 3, the standard was so bloody high. We were having our conversations, not arguments, because we were all in agreement as to whether these films were actually better than any James Bond films that we'd seen. And now we get this. So it'll be really interesting to see where we're at the end of this recording. But I was so excited, because it's just high after high after high. How could they possibly go wrong? And then we got the first 90 minutes of this 3-hour slog. And about half an hour in, I was getting fidgety, I have to say. Because the other films all started in a kind of exciting way. Like the train did not take long to get out of the station and to get moving. Whereas this one took the length of an entire normal length film before it actually got moving. And I found that immensely frustrating. It's the first Mission Impossible that I was actually looking at my damn watch. So yeah, how are the first football match length part of the film for you, Alex?
So I'm going to say this is a game of 2 halves. The first half was abysmal. Okay, it was there was no possession. Okay, they were playing all over the place. There was an explanation with the Entity. Then everyone explained everything, and then they would remind us about the stakes constantly, and it was just constant exposition. And one of the things that this does is it breaks the cardinal rule, which is show don't tell, and they know this, and then they broke it completely. And then as if it somehow made sense to introduce the showing instead of telling, they then included all of the mock-up, all of the like, here's what could have happened, which is where you get all of the things that were in the trailers of things blowing up, nuclear war, and all this kind of stuff. But which we know were completely, they weren't real. They weren't going to be what it was going to end up like.
Tom his very, very expensive VR cabinet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so the first bit, the highlight of the first bit was Hannah Waddingham doing her American general accent, which I loved.
Very good.
I didn't care for it particularly, but I was just like, you have raised this film, thank you. But other than that, and don't get me started on the whole. I'm going to say I'm going to say a sentence, and I'm going to get 8 different characters to say each word between the 2 or 3 different scenes, so that you can get that we're all saying the same thing. It's like, that was pointless. It just made me feel like they had pieced it together in the editing room, which I'm sure they had. But anyway, so can we get that bit out of the way? And don't even get me started on AI, because we haven't got that much time. And then get on to the actual like action stuff, because that was an improvement.
Okay.
John, do you have a better view of this than I do?
So yeah, so I studied psychology at university, and one thing we looked at was called primacy and recency effects. So the memory of primacy and recency. Basically, when you're trying to remember a list, you generally remember the first thing and the last thing, and everything in between is hard to remember. Now, I can remember Tom Cruise's really lovely message before the film started, saying, you know, we worked really hard on this, and we appreciate you coming to the cinema and not watching it on streaming services, which is kind of what he was saying. He didn't actually say that, but that's what we've discussed, isn't it, Alex? And I can remember Tom Cruise sort of being flung around like a bar of soap on a string on a plane at the end. And that's about as much as I can remember. Oh, I can remember also Hayley Atwell waking Tom Cruise up in a gratuitous cleavage shot. About that, that's all I can really remember for the whole film. I have to say, I enjoyed the film as a closure. I enjoyed some of the aspects of it, but I would say I was disappointed that it wasn't as exciting as the previous installment. So I kind of felt a bit deflated.
Yeah,
really.
that's really, really interesting, John, because I didn't know that psychology thing, by the way, but it makes total sense. But it's really, really interesting that you say that, because it's like I really have to think about the moments that did happen in between. Well, basically in that first 90 minutes. I mean, like I say, once it gets going, it kind of gets going. But then you've only got, where every single film we've talked about 3 major set pieces. Yeah. This only had 2, in the sub and on the plane, undersea and in the air. I wonder if, because the first 90 minutes was so exposition heavy, and also, I don't know if you guys had the same reaction, but I kind of thought to myself, like, come on, guys, we're all here because we love this franchise. We love these movies. You don't need to insult our intelligence. And I get that they needed to do the callbacks and, you know, because it's the final one, supposedly. And sort of connect all the pieces, because the whole reason why the entity is in existence is because of the consequences of Ethan's past actions. Yeah, which we know is total bullshit. It's all what do they call it? Retcon. It's all total retcon, because we know from the deep dives that we've done on these movies, for anyone watching or listening that doesn't know any of this, go back to the earlier episodes, because these are what we've done so far with the Mission Impossible series. Is we didn't just do reviews, we actually deep dove into every single film, and we went really deep into the behind the scenes of every single movie as well. And those regular viewers and listeners will know that these films are made on the fly. Very rarely is the plot fully formed, or they're actually changing it as they go along. It's the Wallace and Gromit analogy in The Wrong Trousers, of Gromit actually laying the tracks in front of the train as the train is moving. I wonder if this one, because they kind of had sort of mapped out what they were doing a bit more, that it also suffered for that because we didn't get as much of that frenetic tension. Like the other films, particularly the last four before this, you really felt like you were on that mission with Ethan. You really felt like you were along for the ride, and it sharpened your senses. And so you do remember pretty much everything about Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol and Fallout and Dead Reckoning Part 1. But this one, I just think they kind of lost people like you and I and possibly Alex as well in that first 90 minutes because our brains just switched off because we were like, okay, well, we kind of went into the cinema like, okay, right, got my seat. I'm in my chair. I'm there before the adverts start. I'm ready for this. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. And then it was like, we weren't coming off the bench yet to play. To go back to the football analogy.
It was like they made an uncomedic version of Doctor Strangelove for the first 90 minutes. It's a lot of sort of doom mongering and people near the red button deciding whether to press it, and just like people with lots of badges on their shoulders, and what do they call that? It's not called. It's called scrambled egg, isn't it? Or the badges, the medals of honor. It's just like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's nice to see Nick Offerman in there and Mark Gatiss again, but that little subplot with Nick Offerman and the gun from the sidearm, like it just felt a bit. It could have been fat that could have been cut from the joint, really.
Yeah, I think
I watched this twice, so I've seen like 3 hours. No, 3 hours of this.
You've seen nearly 6 hours of this now, haven't you?
Yeah. So and so the thing is, it's when you watch it that many times, and believe me, I have no inclination of watching that first bit again. There's just no point, because a lot of it could have been cut, a lot of it was unnecessary, and also it didn't add anything to it. Like, it was great to show some of the stakes, but then you didn't need to tell me constantly about them. You didn't need to say, there was some really annoying cheese that we're going to come on to.
Let's go back to
I'll
the
do
big
it
map
later,
showing
but
which country's gone red now. It's like sort of Risk.
yeah,
It's like watching Risk being played in real time, isn't it?
yeah. Also, did you notice that it looked quite suspiciously like the New Order?
Yes, logo.
The sort of thing. It was very much like, oh, I wonder what they're going to use when they turn to the. Oh, look, that looks like very much like.
This is a Star Wars reference, Bobby. By the way, the First Order from Star Wars.
you mean he meant the First
Yeah,
Order,
that's
not
the
the
one,
New
sorry.
Order.
Yeah, well,
Sorry,
I understood what
my
what he
bad.
meant.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought he was.
but anyway.
I thought he was getting mixed up with his football analogies. New Order. You
I
got
don't do
to
that
hold
game,
and
Bobby. I
give,
don't-
do it at the right
Little
time.
John
You
Barnes.
can be slow or fast, but you must get to the line. Sorry, I don't know
Hooray for
how
England.
30 or what is it? 35 years later, how do I remember all the words to that bloody song? Anyway,
What?
so yeah, I mean in that first, I think the other thing as well, guys, right? Like, do you remember if you think back to Rogue Nation, and that starts off in the field, right, by the runway, right, and then
Carrot, he's
Benji
chasing a
pops
carrot,
up with
isn't
the thing on it. He's chasing the
ghillie
carrot.
suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and do you remember what I said? I said I had a grin on my face from the first minute, and this one I was really upset and I was sad and it was so heavy and it was so down and it was so dark and it was so cold, unlike the previous films. And all right, the stakes were high in all of them, but they were you were on a fun roller coaster, not one that you felt like, oh shit, this is really the end.
They were trying to pull out, the catharsis of Luther dying. I don't think it really. For a guy who's been with us for 8 films, I just wasn't very sad about that. I've just felt a bit kind of deflated by it, really. And did they need to kill him off? Was that necessary? I mean, I know we've had a few deaths in these films. We've had, Ilsa dying in the other film. I was more affected by her death, and Luther's been with us for longer. I don't know what it is. It just felt like that was a bit contrived. Really, it was a bit like, oh, Tom's trying to make us cry now. Look, he's trying to make us cry, and we're not crying really.
I tell you,
We're half asleep by now, and we want to be,
uh,
entertained before we cry.
I tell you what.
Dear.
Even Carolina, and she didn't know that Val Kilmer died a couple of weeks ago. But last night at the Royal Albert Hall, I had the privilege of being in a box to watch Top Gun Maverick with the music performed live by the Royal Philharmonic, and it was absolutely amazing. But also, what an amazing film! I cried at the Val Kilmer stuff in there,
I always do.
and I was upset about the Luther thing because it was sad, but I wasn't as upset. And I kind of feel like I should have been as upset, if not more upset. Do you know what I mean? And I think, again, it's pacing, because Top Gun Maverick, again, another Christopher McQuarrie involvement there. But Top Gun Maverick moves like the last four missions. Top Gun Maverick is basically Ethan flying F-18s, right? Yeah. It's a Mission Impossible film, because they have the setup. And then they have now we're talking about a completely different movie, sorry. But anyway, you'll kind of get my point, right? So they have the setup, then it's the impossible mission, then it's how they're going to do it, and then eventually they get it done and blah, blah, blah. But then you think it's all over, but then there's more shit that has to happen and so on. And it's heart and mouth the whole time, just like those previous four mission films. And this one wasn't that, right? So yeah, disappointing.
Do you think also the fact that Ethan always gets the mission done in the end, that although the ending was tense with dropping the AI into the little Mr. Freeze lollipop at the end, do you think that the tension was somewhat lacking there a little bit, because the missions aren't that impossible, are they really? They always seem to work. Like, wouldn't it be great to have a mission that didn't work at all? Like, could they have done these two films a bit more? Like, could they have ended the last film, which was great, with more of a bad ending, and it bringing it back into this one here? I just feel like this was, I don't know, it felt a bit, it lacked tension, because I knew that they would win in the end, and I think that's unfortunate. There was no Red Wedding style thing in this film, was there? Let's be honest.
What was one of the best, if you think back through cinematic history, particularly our childhood?
Yeah.
What was one of the best endings to a film that just left you full of despair and just really wanting the next part, so you could see if the heroes were going to get the hell out of this? Empire Strikes Back. You know, that...
Oh, go on.
No, you go, Alex.
Well, I was going to say, I had that with Endgame.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I was like, well, they can't leave it, and then they did leave it there, and then I was like, oh.
You mean you mean Infinity War?
Yeah, sorry, Infinity War and Endgame.
I mean, I think the second Spider-Man film, the arty ones with Miles Morales, that we were still waiting for the next one.
Oh, I haven't seen the second one still. I still haven't seen the second one.
I mean, the ending
No
leaves
spoilers.
it. It's not. We're not spoiling it. But we talked about this before. There's no closure.
No.
He's turning into Spider Pig.
No.
It's a part. It's a part two or three.
Yeah,
if I no blur no. Didn't want to know that.
Just watch it, Bobby, and you'll
now
see.
I know that. You've just now I'm going to go into it knowing it's a part 2 of 3. I don't want to know it was a part 2 of 3.
But it's good that you do know that. You'll enjoy it more knowing that than if you didn't. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you will.
No, I won't.
Yeah, you will.
I won't because now you've said that I will enjoy it, and I don't like being told what to do. That film has been out for over a year, and I've studiously avoided anything about it all this time because I was going to enjoy it on my business class flight to New York from my flatbed next week, and you two have just effed it up. Thank you so much. Anyway, as viewers will be, anyone who's still here, we are avoiding talking about this current film. We need to get back to it as hard as it is.
Look, I enjoyed it. It wasn't a bad film. I enjoyed it, but I just don't think it was the finale that Mission Impossible deserved. That's the trouble.
Yeah. I just didn't have as much fun with it as I did with any of the others apart from
the humour. It lacked
Yeah.
humour.
Yeah.
Too serious.
Could we get past the bad bits? Because
Yes.
there are plenty to talk about.
Let's
Yeah.
get to the good stuff.
And talk about some of the good bits.
Sorry,
We
I
could
wanted
talk
to
about
mention.
it as... Go on.
I wanted to just talk about something John touched on actually, and just sort of kind of almost expand on his point that with the mission basically got too big for me. It was too big, and it was not that any of them have been realistic, but it just got too. It kind of made
the
him
world.
suddenly in. No, it's not that. It's by this point they've turned him into like Superman,
Yeah.
the Messiah. What has always been the big problem with Superman, which from the trailers it looks like James Gunn is really starting to is trying to resolve. The big problem with Superman is that there's not really much that can hurt or kill him, right? And I think that's the problem with Ethan, that your heart in mouth moments in the previous films were the fact that he's human, he's not James Bond, right? It's not as quite as fantastical as the James Bond movies are, but then all of a sudden it's morphed into, again, I was thinking of like Neo in the last Matrix film, Resolutions or whatever the hell it was called.
Revolutions.
Revolution, sorry, yeah, revolutions. But it got too. It was just too. I don't know. It was just too over the top.
Well, the thing is, Bobby. The
I almost
original
think it
Mission
would have been
Impossible-
better if when they lost the camera and then they shot back to everyone after the aeroplane sequence, if he didn't make it.
Yeah, but have you seen
yeah.
the fourth John Wick film yet, chaps?
Obviously,
Right. So we're going to do a major spoiler for John Wick 4.
Okay. So, by the way,
this,
major spoiler for John Wick
Put your
4
fingers
and
in
John
your
Wick
ears, Bobby.
5.
Yeah,
No. I've seen John Wick 4.
yeah. But the spoiler for
I
John
thought
Wick
you were
4.
doing it on the...
But at the end of John Wick 4, John Wick dies. And that
No,
ending
he
is-
doesn't.
Well, you know what I mean. But
He's coming back in John Wick 5.
yeah, he's as flashbacks. Yeah, not as himself.
No, he's coming back. Not in Ballerina. They're making John Wick 5.
Yeah, but it's going to be a prequel. It's not going to be a sequel, so it all works out. But yeah, I'm with you, Bobby. If Ethan had done a Steve Trevor from Wonder Woman and gone up in flames in the plane at the end, I think that would have been much more effective than Luther blowing up in some underground bunker in London somewhere.
But then
also-
the problem, John, is if they had killed him, we would have left the cinema even more depressed.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. I suppose. Yeah.
So maybe actually it's right that they didn't kill him, because we left on a high, because like we've been bitching about this so far. That submarine sequence and that aeroplane sequence are among the best set pieces in the whole freaking series.
They were really good.
They were amazing. The plane stuff was fantastic, and I laughed my arse off when Isai Morales, when Gabriel got it. There's only one parachute or whatever, and then he bangs his head on the flipping fin of the plane. That was hilarious. I love a good horrific movie death. It's great.
Yeah, the problem is with this is it didn't feel like the rest of the team were that involved. They were doing stuff, I know, but it just felt like the Ethan Hunt show and the original Mission Impossible, even the films, was very much about the team working together, and it felt a little bit desperate. It almost felt like this is the film they filmed during COVID, where Tom Cruise is separate from everyone else. Do you know what I mean? It felt more of a COVID film than the one previously. They were a little more spread out. There was the kind of the funny interactions between the team were not so prevalent in the film, and it just didn't feel like a Mission Impossible film. That's how I felt.
I mean, I think the lightness came from Grace and from Benji still, because even when Benji was sort of I thought he was fatally shot,
Yeah.
We all, I
Well,
guess, we all did, right? We didn't think he was going to make it.
Consoles. Yeah.
Yeah, but but he was still making the quips and stuff, and that was much needed actually. Haley Atwell's she's just delightful. You know what I mean? She's just brilliant. She's just a breath of fresh air on screen. I was like, thank God she was in this film.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
What
sorry.
happened to the White Woods?
By the way,
the white. What's her name? Here, Vanessa Kirby's character.
Vanessa Kirby. Yeah, I know.
What
How the hell did they not find any room for her? They brought all these other fucking people in. Sorry,
like
they
Degas.
brought all these other people in, right? And they even managed to flipping retcon bloody what's his name Briggs and turn him into Jim Phelps's son, which doesn't quite work because that actor has got to be in his 50s. I'm going to look him up now. Right,
Okay.
and that was 35 years ago, and he was meant to have been an 8-year-old boy. So you're telling me that guy's meant to be 43? Like, shut up, seriously?
He's 56 in this. He's 56 years old.
Right. See, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. Did you get a bonkathon, John, or not?
We're going to talk about that, aren't we? Oh,
No,
they didn't decompress.
Well, the thing is, I didn't want to get my phone out in the cinema and write these things down. So I do remember how many.
But you don't need to write it. There's nothing to write. It's not like you're watching a Roger Moore movie, for frick's sake. Or Sean Connery.
It's too many to keep track of Roger Moore. That's the problem. No, I think wasn't there one here? I think there was one, wasn't there somewhere?
there was a schmooze. I
schmooze.
definitely think it meets the schmooze criteria.
Okay.
Because they were both in the decompression container.
That's
and
right.
there was lots of googly eyes, and obviously it started off from the amazingly picturesque. I mean, we haven't really got onto the good bits yet, but like the cinematography of that scene where he comes back up to the surface, and then it transitions into her giving him the kiss of life or kissing him. Like that was visually great. Like it looked it looked amazing. But then I was somewhat distracted because of Haley Atwell's breasts, and also just because I was then like, wait a minute, have they bonked? Like, is this their Fifth Element moment? Are they going in the tank?
Was he
to
conscious
recuperate?
whilst it happened?
What's going
that
on?
sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and also they don't mention it. So this is, and then I was like, is this weird? Like, is this a workplace thing? Should we talk to HR? So I did. I started going down that route by the time, because I was like,
Technically,
they're not
you're
even
right,
mentioning
Alex.
it.
You're right. He is dipping up in the company Inc. because she's now a member of the IMF, isn't she? So
the thing is, like, this is the thing that frustrates me with this. The whole series actually, because basically they at the start of the series in Mission Impossible 1, they allude to him being interested in someone, and then it's nothing is ever shown about it again. And then ever since, they've just kind of gone, nah, Tom Cruise doesn't do that, and so therefore there is nothing about it at all. And so for it to then have this scene where they're basically in this tank, and I'm like, well, I mean, if you've got someone right next to you like that, I mean, obviously you're trying to recover, but that would have been heartwarming. But no, instead, maybe he gave him a performance evaluation form or something. I feel like he's too straight-laced for that.
Mr. Hunt, now's the time for your appraisal. Yeah.
Yeah. Could you give me a 360 feedback, please, on this? Because I've got my review next week. So thanks, Sir Ethan. Just anyway, there was moments, and the thing is, it wouldn't have mattered. But then you had our Inuit lady giving him a wink again. Would have been perfect, except that what was she winking at? Apart from maybe Tom Cruise in the pants. So, anyway, we do need to talk about Tom Cruise's pants scenes, because there's quite a few of them, aren't there?
I'm 62 and I'm in such great shape. I'm going to fight in my pants. I'm going to swim in freezing water in my pants. I'm going to do as much in my pants as possible.
A lady next to me of maybe older than me, I did see her at one point, I hear her and say, ooh, woo! When Tom Cruise took his top off in the submarine. So he did please at least one a lady in the audience. Although I didn't see any dribbling.
Do you know,
it's too dark.
if I looked that good, I would be in my pants more often.
I think.
Yeah. Me too. It was very reminiscent of Bruce Lee at the beginning of Enter the Dragon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we go on to the good bits?
Yes.
Because I do feel like underneath all of this,
Bullshit.
what's the word? Yeah, gumph or fluff.
Bullshit.
Or, bullshit, or whatever we want to call it. So underneath all of that, on paper, this is a stellar film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at the plot, I think that you would be like, "Oh, cool! Wow, that's amazing." You're going to have to go and try and get Gabriel. Oh no, you don't get him. Oh, you have to give yourself up. I think in principle, this all sounds great.
Alex, I know we're going to go on to good stuff, but one thing what I didn't understand was why did we not get any explanation about this first lady that caused the choice? This lady in like Gabriel and Ethan's past. What was that all about? Why did they bother with that? Is it just an excuse to show that Ethan's been framed to make the choice? I don't know. It's weird.
I think that's pretty much all it was, because they kind of made a big deal that she was back in this film, right? And that it was hinted that we would get more about that backstory, but there was nothing. It was just the same flashback.
I found that a bit confusing, that's all. But yeah. Yeah.
But there's lots of it that's confusing because they work so hard to sort of string this together from all of the existing films, and it just wasn't necessary. Like, this is one of the things that the previous one, Dead Reckoning, didn't have that problem, because it wasn't trying as hard to string everything together, and also you had things like the entity actually had balls, whereas when you get to this one, there's nothing really from the entity at all, and Gabriel has just turned into a comic book character, and then starts saying the things that he's doing. Yeah, exactly, and it's like it's just like
off he's gone.
I mean, he must have been embarrassed doing it. He must have been embarrassed doing it, because he must have realised there's like, oh, I've got all this bite in the first one, and then it's gone, it's disappeared now. What's happened? And yeah, so I think on paper, like when you look to this all made sense, and I think it's just all of the gumph that they added to it wasn't needed, and then the problem is once you're weighed down by all of that, it kind of gets in the way of the good bits. So we had some great we had introduction to a lot of the we had the carrier, for example, Anna Wannington bit. We had all of that, which was great. Again, somewhat unnecessary, but it was quite good to watch. You had the submarine chief, the captain. He was awesome. We'll come on to submarines later, because I've got things to say about that.
Trammell Tillman, the guy from Severance.
Milchick.
Yeah.
Milchick. He was very good.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot because he was kind of channeling his Severance character and turning it down a bit. That same sort of sing-song voice, but I quite liked him.
Yeah, he was good.
There were some good characters in this.
There was, yeah.
Trammell Tillman was good as Captain Bledsoe.
Angela
Bassett was classic
Angela
Angela Bassett, wasn't she?
She was great. She was, and again, put in an impossible situation. Great. I like him.
Rob Saxon was great.
Impressed with that.
Coming back as William Donlow. Thought he was really. That's a nice little touch. I like that.
Do you think that him and his wife should have just been killed? They shouldn't have made it back in. Right. It was things like that was like,
Tapisa.
you've got to remind us that there are stakes, that this shit harms people. And you're kind of looking at the distance from the bomb to, because it was like you've got 10 seconds, right? I suppose it's possible. No, I think no.
But I think they got,
because the door's quite heavy.
They caught up in their own problem, didn't they? They kind of made Hunt invincible, and then because they made Hunt invincible, aside from getting rid of Luther, they just couldn't do anything else. And I just feel like, no, that's part of the problem, is that what they didn't do is they didn't say, you know, look, stakes are important in the people, not the place. Like the world blowing up, too big. Like, lovely, that's a great concept. You can keep that, but it's the impact on the people that's important, and they should have focused on that. The same principle with Benji and like we'll maybe we'll come on to it, but like the scene where he's basically getting the surgery done on him whilst talking Grace through it. Great, and I loved it, and it was light, and it was just I wasn't expecting him to completely die, but then there was his acting when it got to that point. Yeah, he fainted, and then right at the end he did go, and so you thought, and so what I was expecting to do was in the finale, I was expecting to actually see him like in a wheelchair or like in crutches or something, just to show the fact that like it was serious. He's made it through, but or wearing an arm brace or something. But there was nothing, and I think that's just the problem. And the same is true of Ethan's characters. It wasn't just that they made it through. It's like they made it through unscathed, and that made Luther's character's death just seem like a waste. And again, because they didn't develop why he was going to die, or what his medical issue was, or anything. They didn't develop anything about that. You just have to work it out in your head.
I was confused about that. That's the one thing the only thing in the film I felt I didn't have a grip on really was, why was he in bed with tubes in his face? What was that all about? I missed that.
I assume it was cancer, because that's the usual thing that you do at that kind of thing.
But that wasn't explained at all.
The problem is there's no explanation whatsoever. Yeah. There was no explanation as to why he was essentially in a biomedical room, a sealed room. This is the thing. It wouldn't have been hard to describe it, or it wouldn't have been hard to just explain it. In fact, Benji covered loads of other things. It just didn't cover the bit about why one of the key characters wasn't doing so well, and why him dying would have extra weight. They didn't do any of that, and so then when he's talking about things in a massively contemplative way, because maybe he's got a terminal disease or something, you can't get that emotional impact, because we've not been introduced to it, and so that's really frustrated me, because it was kind of, and it just meant that his exit wasn't that as impactful as it could have been. So I think that was the thing. That was what frustrated me about it. And there were lots of lost moments like that throughout the thing. There were scenes. There were scenes between what's his face, Dunlow, and his wife, for example. We will see you again, and then that's thrown away. They don't mention it.
That's what I mean. I think because the whole we'll see each other again. Like, first you think, oh, he's going to die in the hut when it's burning down, and then you think, oh, they're going to go together. That's nice, right?
Yeah.
And then they don't, and so it's just a lot of things are set up and then just chucked in your Mission Impossible movie popcorn bin, Alex. Which I think was kind of disappointing, because even though like the previous films have been literally made on rails, this didn't have any of it. Do you know what? This is the least feeling Mission Impossible film of the lot. Like there was one very brief using the mask when they go to get Paris. Mm-hmm. There was no fake room. There were two. What?
Because Peg had a mask on as well.
Yeah, both of them did.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just the one scene, right?
Yeah.
There was no fake room. It just didn't feel as Mission Impossible. It felt more, almost kind of like James Bondy than it did. Ethan's morphed into James Bond. There we go.
And also, what was the twist? Because the thing is, they explained it several times, that they were going to give the Podcova and the poison pill, and they were going to give it to what's his face. And the thing is, it's like, because they'd explained that constantly, it's like there is no spin there, so you couldn't have. And this is the thing, it could have easily had, oh no, that everything's gone wrong. Oh, wait a minute, it's all working the way to plan. They didn't. They just, because they told us all about it, and they then reinforced that that's the plan, and everyone went, oh no, that's a crazy plan. I can't believe you're doing that. And it's just that's frustrating.
Do you think that that the plot of this film was written by AI?
Well,
ironic.
so originally they were going to be filming this back to back with Dead Reckoning Part 1. And then Paramount basically said, no, that's not happening. For whatever reason. Money. Unfortunately then they got caught up with various, tail end of the pandemic. Then there was the SAG strike. And so with all the production delays and having to stop, restart and all the rest of it, the film's budget has ballooned to near $400 million. This makes this one of the most expensive movies of all time. And today, I mean, we're only a week after release. It's sitting at around $200 million worldwide. It needs to do about $1 billion, basically, to be profitable. Now, Paramount are also looking at how well this does on the streaming platform when it comes to Paramount Plus. In a few months' time, and what that does to their subscriber numbers and so on. But no Mission Impossible movie has broken $1 billion. I don't think this is going to quite get there, because I don't know.
I don't
think
it will go very far past it, but I think it might, because don't forget all of the prices have gone up. So they are going to get more money for that.
But now the cinemas are keeping half at least of the ticket price as well, Alex.
Yeah, true.
So you got to get to that total. You've got to get a lot of bums on seats.
I didn't.
And don't forget, the reason a lot of these $1 billion plus movies, like the Marvel movies, when they were hitting those highs and so on. How many times did you go and see Spider-Man 3? Whatever it was called. I saw that film 3 times. I saw it twice I think I saw it once with you guys. I'm sure we saw that together. I saw it once or was it with Mark? It was something to do with a podcast. I saw it on my own, and then I went and saw it with Carolina.
Don't forget,
3 lots of tickets.
Footfall in cinemas still hasn't got up to as high as it was pre-COVID. People aren't going to cinema as much as they used to because of home streaming and home cinema. Home TVs are much bigger.
Well, also there's a recession on.
There's cost of living is high. People can't afford. I don't go to cinema as often as I like. I used to go all the time, but it's just incredibly expensive. It cost me £25 at my local cinema. Now, when I was at university, I could go up to our local Robin cinema and watch a film for a couple of quid back in my day. But that was 25 years ago, 30 years ago, to be fair. So, but
I don't think it's so much that, John, because I think partly people might save their money and go and see, especially if they've got families, they might sort of say, okay, we won't go and see Mission Impossible, but we will go and we'll use our one cinema trip this 6-month period to go and see Lilo and Stitch instead. It had
for the film companies to predict a market and to know how much to put in the budget. It must be really hard, especially when you're spending $400 million on a film. How much does it cost?
It's a gamble, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big gamble,
and it's just.
This has had
that's more harder than every week, every year it gets harder.
We're going into the second week now, and it will be interesting to see if there's a drop off, because this has actually had the biggest opening of any Mission film before it.
That's encouraging. Then.
So,
listen,
but it's the second and third week drop off that we need to look for.
This film has been made by talented people. It's it's an amazing looking film. The technical elements of it are amazing. You know, it's taken what you can do in films to the peak, to the pinnacle of filmmaking. But at the end of the day, a good story is a good story, and you can throw millions and millions and millions of dollars at a film. But if your script isn't up to scratch, then you're going to have problems. And there were problems. I think there were problems with the script in this film. It just felt like it just didn't hang together as well as some of the other films, and it's a real shame. And if that's because it's a victim of its own making, trying to, you know, dot all the circle all the dots and finish everything off in the series and round up all the story elements and the rabbit's foot and Ethan's backstory, and I don't know. It's a real shame because I did enjoy it. I still had a good time. It didn't feel like the end of the film, the ending it deserved more than anything else.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the set pieces? Because
Yeah.
I think the set pieces are worth talking about.
I'm trying to be positive, I know. The submarine was excellent. I thought that submarine sequence, despite some of the scientific problems with how it worked, how he survived.
Okay,
But
so
it's a great sequence.
the big problem was the big problem was reality, basically,
Yeah.
because I mean
Yeah.
Carolina sat next to me in the cinema, and she's a trained diver, qualified,
Oh wow!
and she knows all about the bends and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
and pressure, and she's also like physics is her thing and all of that. And she just turned around to me and she said he'd be dead. There's no way that no one could survive what he just put himself through.
Wouldn't his
She,
body
like
be
she said,
crushed?
she said he would.
Yeah.
No,
Pressure.
even before all of that, the pressure, yes, but even before all of that, he would have died of hypothermia
You get about 7
before
minutes,
even
don't
getting down there.
you? Yeah.
The moment that he hit the water, and then when he goes and takes his suit off and everything as well, it was meant to be freezing cold.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's that like you could reasonably suspend your disbelief in previous installments of this, but this was just a step too far. It was fantastic. It was edge of your seat stuff, hand over your mouth, like, oh my God, how's he going to get out of this? But, it just, you got taken out a little bit because it was like, they've just overstepped the mark a little bit. Now, that said, the biplane stuff at the end was freaking awesome. That was amazing, and I know he was harnessed. I think it was one string or whatever, and they removed it digitally in post. But he was up there. He trained a year to do that.
He was flying a plane himself.
Yeah.
flying the
No, they
plane.
had. Oh yeah,
behind a
he was
green
flying the
screen.
plane initially.
He was
Once
flying the
once they were having at it, there was actually a pilot in the plane.
Yeah, in a green
flying
screen.
it, and then they got rid of him.
But there's a bit where he's hanging off the wing. He's got a camera attached to his chest that he's running and directing himself. He's flying the plane. And the problem was McHugh kept having to turn around and saying cut to Tom Cruise because Tom Cruise was having so much fun doing this that he kept smiling. So McHugh kept saying, "Stop smiling, Tom! Stop smiling!" And
There's
so,
actually there is a moment. There is a moment
on the
where
wing.
you see him smiling.
yeah.
You see him smiling, and
So it's
that is
fun.
another slip. That is another slip. They have not made slips like that before.
Yeah.
Not that I've noticed in this franchise, but they made that slip, and that again. Just as I got back into the movie, that moment, that little slip in editing, just took me straight back out again in that moment. And it's all of that, like Dead Reckoning Part 1 and the 3 before it,
Fallout
right?
and Rogue Nation.
You're on that ride, guys. We're on the freaking ride. Like from the first minute of the movie to the very end of it, there is not a point in any of those films where you're looking at your watch or you're looking around or you're taking your eyes off the screen. It's one thing after another and you're along for it. You're right in there with them. And this one, you just kept getting taken out of the movie. And that was the big problem for me. And also, yes, Alex, let's talk about the fucking AI stuff. Go for it. Because it's nonsense.
So, I think it is nonsense. I think the main thing is the whole mainframe thing and everyone going offline is completely flawed. So that would never happen because it's just never designed that way. But I think the other part of it is there's such an easy solution to that. So you just air gap all of your.
Just get Matthew Broderick in there.
Yeah, exactly. we'll game it out. But so yes, it doesn't work that way. And I think there's several bits that just don't work that way anyway. But I think the main problem was it told you about the problem and that told you that it was a big thing, didn't show you, and so that was the thing that just completely threw me constantly. Nice to see was just telling me about it,
the other people,
showing it.
Rather than showing us that map every so often, going red.
Yep.
And go to the first order. Show us a quick sequence in the central command of those governments. Yep. Give us some more locations. Make it feel more like a film of real people and things going on, rather than just a graphic. It's like they should have brought like Oliver Snow in just to show the election campaign. Jon Snow even campaign
Jon
of
Snow,
the
that's right.
So
yeah, you're totally right. Wow. And I think that's the thing. It's like so let's talk. I have a whole thing, by the way.
Go on,
you'll have to go through it, but well, no, I'll do the gadget thing when we're ready. But the thing is, the thing for me is like, cyberspace. The destruction of cyberspace will be, the end of the world, and it's like, no, it won't. No, but if you'd have shown me like everyone in the UK not being able to pay with their phones or their phones stop working,
Alex, they should have cut to a scene from the IT Crowd when Jen breaks the internet and everyone's like ripping each other's hair out and kids are playing with dogs.
Kids tearing up toilet paper.
Tearing up toilet paper. That's what they should have shown. Look, it's the end of cyberspace.
It wouldn't have been hard. It wouldn't have been so easy for them to do it.
People can't order things on Amazon anymore. Look at the gnashing their teeth. Look,
literally, it's just like
movies. Going back to cinema,
looking at their phones blankly because they've stopped getting mobile reception, and then they just turn themselves off or something, then cars in London just gradually just stopping because all of the traffic lights go off. That would have had some real impact. Okay, we would have been like, good point. How am I going to order my Uber?
Stuff, though, isn't it?
Well, it's not even that big though. I think you could have done it. They had all this money to throw at stuff, and then they didn't like put the simple stuff in because they were like, no, we're going to show nuclear bombs exploding, and it was like, but we didn't need to see that because like that's everyone sees that and just goes, all right. Yeah, exactly. And once you've seen one nuclear bomb, you don't really need to see loads of them. You just you've got it then. So
once you've seen one, to be fair.
Yeah, so I just don't. I don't know. Like, it didn't add anything to it, and then the problem was it just took all of the weight away from everything. That was the thing that was so annoyed me about Gabriel's role, because he came from a position of knowledge and empowerment. And then all of that seemed to be taken away from him. But then later in the film, he goes back to being empowered and knowledge again, and then and turning into a cartoon villain. And it's just like there wasn't a particular need to do that. But if you really wanted to, you could have had Gabriel being admonished in that not admonished,
torture chamber.
Yeah, it could have gone into that torture chamber just before Hunt did. And he could have had a real telling off from the AI, or they could have like stopped its heart. There's tons of things they could have done
they did it
to
better,
just show his power.
When Sark has his hands attached to the table in Tron, and the Master Control program starts to go and makes his arms go all fizzy as a punishment. They should have done that with him, shouldn't they, in the torture chamber? Like actually sending like electricity through him or something whilst he's saying, "You're being really useless with." Ethan, do better.
But it would have. But that's the thing. It's kind of, and the problem is that underlined a whole thing. You had a whole scene in the with the server vault, Doomsday Vault,
Yeah.
And you had a whole thing where it was like, hang on a minute, where was this army of people who had decided to, or army of snipers that are supporting him? Did they not notice the Americans joining and putting a massive bomb in there? What was going on there? And then but all of this, it was just a mess. Yeah, and so the problem is that for me that really took me out, because it just made nothing have any consequence anymore, and that was on top of Hunt's like inability to get hurt, and so that was the thing. But when you put that aside and you just think about like Tom Cruise hanging off a plane, for example, or even the submarine ones, which while they were implausible, were massively tense. Like like you were going, I'm committed now. I'm in this. Some bits are a bit absurd, but I don't care. I'm watching it. And that would have been fine. So it's just I just feel like they.
To be honest, I'm so glad, because I actually regret setting him off on that path, because and I'm hoping that his gadget list is super freaking short, because we've only got about 8 minutes.
I broke it.
John, do you thank? Oh, look, he's gone again. Brilliant! This is fantastic. Thank you, the
Back
entity.
again.
The entity.
Can you
You're
hear me?
welcome.
Can you hear me?
You're welcome.
Am I going to have to say
we can't
only
hear
nice
you.
things?
I'm
Alex, we
sorry,
can't hear you.
Dave. I can't do that, Dave.
John, do your schmoozing stuff, because I want to get on to ratings.
He had a bonk in a chamber, and that was it, mate.
You think they did it?
Yeah, of course they did.
But it's not on screen,
who wouldn't?
though.
Yeah, but they did. They definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, even if I was, the bends and stuff, I hate it.
It's not called the bends for nothing, is it?
So one. And what about funny runs? Keep on running.
Well, there were quite a lot, but I think there were two. There was
loads.
one where he was chasing down back to Luther to save him, but didn't quite make him. The other one I don't remember, because I remember counting in the film and thinking, I've got to remember this for the podcast. There are two major funny runs. I think it was somewhere in the corridors, somewhere. Can't remember a second funny run. It was like he was running to save someone, not Luther, someone else. Maybe he did funny run to get on the plane. That's right, yeah.
Yeah,
That was it, on the runway, to jump onto the plane and fly out. But it was only two major funny runs, really, in the film. So I put two on my spreadsheet.
He has a major funny run in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Because when he's running away from the helicopter, and me and Carolina both looked at each other last night, and we went...
in the hall, people thought you were playing the drums.
I just knocked my AirPods. They've gone flying, by the way. Okay, good. Right, that's that out of the way. Alex, gadgets,
can you hear me
please
okay?
keep it brief.
We can hear you, Alex, yes.
Alex, we can. We were
Great.
lying to you before. Alex, gadgets, go. Hurry up.
Okay, we've got a few things here. I'm going to run through them all. If my connection goes, apologies.
That's
If
fine.
the guys-
Just snappy. Just do it.
If they pull the plug on me, then I'm sorry to. So we had the VHS tape from President Sloan, so I thought that was good, on a retro TV video combo. That was nice.
Air gapped, wasn't it, basically?
Yeah, that was really legit. So I love that. I also so later on when they get captured, I definitely thought there was callbacks to Rogue Nation there. Nothing to do with gadgets. I just thought it was fun. There's the fingerprint glass when they were trying to catch Gabriel and still fencing. Actually, ignoring the fingerprint glass that was a bit rubbish, still fencing is like rock solid. So I was quite impressed with that. I think I'll probably get some around my house or something. But anyway, the Dream Machine. That was an interesting.
Sorry, what?
One. The Dream Machine, the machine they talked to the entity in.
Oh, the VR torture chamber.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So that was quite impressive. So the rabbit's foot retcon was a pile of poo. So basically, the whole when you had to say digital primordial soup, I huffed because I was like,
Yeah,
this is
I couldn't
stupid.
do
That's
that one.
ridiculous. So,
Okay, Alex,
yeah,
Alex, stay on target. Stay
I'm
on
carrying on.
target.
All right, I'm carrying on.
Fucking hell.
Cyberspace being destroyed? No, it wouldn't. That would have been fine.
Cyberspace, it's like Johnny Mnemonic, isn't it? It's like 30
I
years
know,
ago
but
they talked about
but if
cyberspace.
they'd have
Dude,
just said,
the concept of cyberspace being destroyed is not a gadget, okay? Gadgets, Alex.
I think it's important because what they should have said is they should have said like everyone would
Alex,
have lost all their money,
Alex,
and then
Alex,
that people would be into it. Yeah,
Alex, I love you, but don't
this is
think.
my last one. Let me
You are
let me
not.
have this.
You are not.
Bobby,
not
let him
paid
have
to
let
think,
him have cyberspace. Go on,
me
let him have
have
it. Go on.
Okay.
Okay, cool. There's a few more.
Do you know
things
what,
that I've
Alex? You
spotted.
can do your
Yeah.
own solo episode, yeah, and you can rant all you want about Bitcoin, how it's not realistic the way they do bank transfers in these films, and AI and all the rest of it. You can have at it, yeah. Solo episode coming, tailoring talkers. Alex is going to treat you to a whole series and educate you on why this is all bullcrap. Anyway, back to gadgets, stuff that I might be able to buy on Amazon one day, Alex.
Well, I don't have many of those because this is a rubbish
Good.
film for that.
That's the
So
point.
I've had to fill,
That's the whole
but I've had
point.
to fill it. No, it's not.
No,
because I've got to
no,
fill my time.
no. Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, the other thing that I've got here is DEF CONs. So DEF CON 3 is where we are right now. If you look it up, that's actually where we are right now. So the fact that it was DEF CON 3, not real. That's not legit. We would have been at least 2. Anyway, carrying on. The other thing that we got is in the submarine, right? We had that amazing power pack. It was like that sort of juice pack that you use to charge your phone.
Mm-hmm.
That was impressive, but would have in no way worked
What was
in
that
a
for?
Russian
From the back?
submarine.
What was the power pack? I don't know.
So basically, what they did is they brought this big pack.
Yeah.
So Hunt brought it into the submarine, and then he plugged the power from. He plugged the cable from the electrical panel, and then all of a sudden all the lights came on, which would have never happened because it was like Russian submarine, UK,
in the
US
Sevastopol,
stuff.
You mean?
Yeah, at the Sevastopol,
Right.
that's right.
Yeah.
But also it's just like you don't like power an entire submarine by a battery that's like the size of a boombox. It just doesn't work that way. So there's just no way that could have feasibly worked. It wouldn't have even been running on LEDs because it would have been diesel powered or something. So anyway, it's just not gonna. That wouldn't have happened. Anyway, the Mark 7 suit, that was cool. Can we get on to one more thing and then I'm done, okay? So you're all right, but not...
This time you can carry on. I'm actually looking at gadgets that I can buy now and seeing if the
Go on.
Vision
Go
Pro
on,
is
lads.
reduced or if
Go
I
on,
I'm
can
going to
get
drop off now.
4K AR
Great,
glasses.
it's not helpful. So, light storage, which is how they said that they would capture the entity.
Oh,
So that's actually...
his little test tube of light thing.
Yeah, see, the thing is, that's actually true. There is some level of truth into that. Microsoft have been doing it to basically create storage that lasts millennia. So
I thought
it
that
is
was
actually
is that
technically
bioluminescent. Is it bio storage? That?
no, not quite. No, basically, the way that it works is they use UV light and then they paint little dots that are encoded. So it's quite clever how it's done. But Microsoft are actually working on that, which is quite cool. So I'll give them some of that. It doesn't glow in the dark or anything like that. But
It reminded me of that episode of Star Trek where they put Moriarty into his own little. It's called ship in a bottle. Do you remember? And he was on the holodeck and trying to escape the holodeck, and they put him into a little computer where he thought he was in reality. That's what reminded me of this.
That's it.
Star Trek fans,
Yeah.
if you geeked out on the fact that you thought that the entity was like that episode of Moriarty, Ship in a Bottle, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. But like that was not the most unbelievable part of the film.
What was
I
that?
was like, okay, you've tried. So that's pretty good. And then the how many milliseconds are in a second?
1,000.
1,000.
1,000. So when you say all in 100 milliseconds, what is that in seconds?
It's like 0.1,
Point
0.
one, yeah. Point to
Yeah.
you, Bobby.
That's
I
what I
would have
said.
thought that the teacher
Point
would
one
have.
is a tenth
And
of a second.
I'm not, and John,
Hold on,
I'm
hold
not
on.
even, I'm not even
Point
paying
one.
attention. I'm on fucking
Point
Reddit right now.
point one is tenth of a second. By the way, just so you know.
Right. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
So we were both right. So
Yeah.
we hold on. We both get a point actually, Alex.
Okay.
No,
we can
you
both
don't,
have
because
one,
you're
fine.
no.
I
the
get
points
more
because
points 'cause
you're
I said it
listening to
first.
him, and you're concentrating, and you're actively listening to him. I'm
And
not even
I
listening
teach
to
this.
him.
I teach this conversion of units at school.
You do.
Anyway,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah.
You
Well,
should know.
it's a
But
wonder
anyway,
our education system is in the state it's in.
So when you say like,
Thank
I
you,
need to
man.
do this in a tenth of a second or the blink of an eye, it's actually not as impressive as it sounds. So I feel like that was worth mentioning. That's it. Apart from that, I did notice a little bit where Hunt was limping at the end, and I think
got
that's
injured.
actually a callback to Fallout
Or just got
because there
injured
were a
again.
few. Yeah, there were a few callbacks to previous ones, and I think that was his callback. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. You can
Well done,
you can
Alex.
put the sound back on now.
Thank you for your work.
Nobody's making AR glasses with 4K resolution. That is what I've learned in the last
Shall we
5-10
do
minutes.
our scorecard and ratings, Bobby?
Oh,
Yes, please. John, over to you.
Okay, Alex. First of all, I've put two running scenes in here, so it's got 2 points for running scenes. I've got 1 point for a cruise schmooze because I think that the tent on the snow bonk was counts. Alex, what's your score out of 10?
so every time I think about it, it goes down. So at the moment, it's at 8.5. Basically, it's not a great film that's held up by some exceptional action scenes that are worth watching on their own. That's it.
And you, Bobby, what about you?
Okay, so if I had to rate the first half of the movie, I'd give that 5. And if I had to rate the second half of the movie, I would give that an 8. So 8 and 5 is 13. Divided by 2 is 6.5. But then I feel that's still a little bit harsh. So I would give this a 7. And what did I give the very first one?
You gave Mission Impossible 1 8.
What did I give Mission Impossible 2?
5.
Really? Oh my god, was
That's
that
the
bad?
one that-
That was
It's the
bad,
Johnny
though.
it's the Johnny Woo film, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay,
It
yeah,
was
I
worse
do.
than that.
A seven is fair, I think, for this. Yeah,
Yep.
I give it a 7.
And that's funny because that's what I gave it as well.
I have
I've written my
spoken.
scoring already. So I gave it a
Oh
7.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
7, yeah, for the second half of the film. Do we have any tenuous links to the film, Bobby? Do you know anyone famous, or did you do their suits, or did you go to dinner with them in New York, or what you know? Any links to this film?
No tenuous links, really.
Okay, no. Okay, so this is ironically, apart from Mission Impossible 2, this film only got half a mark more than Mission Impossible 1. 25.5.
Ooh.
We gave Dead Reckoning 38.5. But there were 10 running scenes in that film. So it would be about 30.5 without all the running scenes. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair score, really, for the film.
What's our favourite mission film then?
I think Rogue Nation came across quite well. Was Fallout Mission Impossible 6, or was that 5? I was getting mixed up. The one
Fallout was number 6. No, number 5.
Yeah, number 5. So
No. Fallout
right.
is number
Fallout-
6.
yeah, Rogue Nation's 5, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I would say Mission Impossible 6 Fallout has our. I mean, we gave Dead Reckoning 38.5, but that's got. I mean, if I bring the running scenes down to about 5, our highest scoring one was Mission Impossible 6 Fallout. My personal favourite, I think, is Rogue Nation. Now, looking back, of all the films.
I think, yeah, for me it's a tough one between Rogue Nation, and Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Dead Reckoning Part 1, okay.
But I think between the two, if I had to edge it, I'd say Rogue Nation.
Yeah. I think Rogue Nation's my favourite.
I think I liked Fallout. I think Fallout was. I think it had the right balance of heart and action and comedy and timing.
Yeah,
and the whole
that's good.
Henry
Cavill
Cavill
doing
reloading
his
his
thing.
guns.
And it just it epitomised so much of that. You know, you had things like Hunt hanging off an elevator, doing his run. It was just so I genuinely I think that one epitomised everything about the series, and I think that Dead Reckoning was executed very well. And I just think it's really disappointing that this wasn't. So that's what's frustrating.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But at the moment, it's
everyone. Sorry.
it's. Oh no, it's okay. It's. I'm speaking on behalf of the audience. All two of them. And that includes myself listening back to this. When you listen back to this, Bobby, just remember. So Rotten Tomatoes, it's holding quite strong at 80%, which is a lot lower than the last 3 or 4 movies because they were all like 95, 97. That's off 326 reviews, so that's actually quite representative. And then, but the interesting thing is the popcorn meter, which is the audience ratings, and that's at 89% with 5,000 plus verified ratings. So, you know, audiences are kind of liking what they're seeing. Maybe they're the opposite to us. Maybe where we kind of got, you know, our brains switched off in the first half and then it was kind of hard to pull it back. A lot of audiences, you know, the second half was so good that they forgot about the first half.
Recency effects.
So there we go. Recency effect, yeah, exactly. We had recency effect in Entropy, John.
Well, we had primacy effects, basically, didn't we? We were torn by the fact we remembered the bad part at the front. So it's kind of sour.
Okay, right. There's no need to like be more clever than me. I was trying to use a Tenet reference there.
I know. I'll try not to be more clever than you. Sorry, Bobby.
Anyway, look, we might be back to talk
the
more.
leader.
We might be back to talk more Mission Impossible. I forgot to say this at the start. The reason I moved the YouTube
logo
thing along is because we went over 1,500 subscribers. So I want to say a massive thank you to those of you that listened to the audio version that have crossed over to the YouTube. And also, John, please.
Sorry.
Also want to say a massive thank you to all our subscribers on the YouTube channel as well. From all three of us. It means a lot. We are building a nice little community. We've had very few trolls actually, which is really cool, and we really appreciate that. And most of you are absolutely lovely, and we've got some regulars as well. But yeah, thank you, and we will have a lot more content coming over the summer, I promise. But yeah, that's it. That's it for Mission for now, anyway. We will be back. There's stuff that needs editing and so on. I can't remember what, but there is stuff coming over the coming weeks. I am off.
Bobby, I will be unboxing Switch 2 next week. Don't forget. So that'll be on the channel at some point. So
okay, keep it quiet, John, because we don't want Becca murdering you before you've unboxed it.
No,
unbox,
okay.
then get killed.
I can still unbox it without testicles. It's fine. Don't worry.
Okay, fine. And
the unboxing of the Switch 2. See, my voice has got all high from, you know.
I'm off to New York. What's in your bag? I'm off to New York, so I'm going to be documenting that. Cool. Yeah, exactly. I'm going business class on an Airbus.
That'll be good.
So I'm really looking proper flatbed.
Lovely.
I would like to see a video of what you brought with you for that trip compared to what I carry on with.
Yeah.
That would be good. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Alex
cool.
Something about maybe what we'd pack in his bag in an apocalypse after AI has taken over, perhaps.
Yeah. I'll find some lint or an old iPad or something.
A biohazard suit.
Yeah. Superb. Right, let's
up.
say goodbye. It's so sad. But thank you all for joining us. We've really enjoyed watching these films back. We will be debating what we do next. We're going to take a break from films for a little while, but we'll work out what the next thing is that we do, and then we will let you know. Yeah, the usual stuff. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, which is highly likely looking at the stats, please hit the bell button and do subscribe and tell other people about the show. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please help us out by leaving a rating and a review. You can also find us on Instagram at Tailoring Talk Magazine. You can find me at Roberto Rivera London on Instagram. You can find John at John PR Evans and Alex at I think Alex.Hansford. Yep.
We'll just go with that.
Yeah, we'll just go with that. And I think that is it. Thank you so much. We love you all, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.